Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're heading straight down into the abyss. Skipping the usual preamble, let's just get right to it. Because the deep sea is a world where, honestly, the further down you go, the more terrifying the truth becomes. Down there in the pitch black, ancient, prehistoric creatures that textbooks tell us went extinct millions of years ago, yeah, they are actually still alive, just lurking in the dark.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine leaving the safety of the sunlit surface behind. You're plunging into this freezing, crushing, pitch black world where ancient beasts and mythological titans aren't just spooky stories you tell around a campfire. They're biological realities. So what if mythological sea monsters are actually real? Well, the really unsettling answer we're uncovering today is that many of those legendary monsters were never myths to begin with.
Which brings us to Section 1, Myths and Sea Monsters, when legends come to life.
You know, for centuries, ancient sailors told all these wild tales of giant sea serpents, but those stories were actually inspired by a very real biological phenomenon, a highly mysterious creature called the oarfish. And this thing can grow to the size of a massive truck. In Japan, there's a fascinating myth where seeing one is a warning of an impending earthquake, which earned it the very spooky nickname, the Doomsday Fish. But in reality, these fish live way down deep in the twilight zone. They only ever surface when they're sick or dying. So there's no actual connection to natural disasters. It's just a massive dying giant washing ashore. Now, moving from sea serpents to Nordic mythology, let's talk about the Kraken. Fossil evidence actually shows giant squids were strong enough to hunt the babies of massive ancient marine reptiles. But for modern humans, the Kraken was mostly just a fairy tale. Until 2004. That was the year the legendary Kraken was definitively proven real when a giant squid was finally captured on camera in its natural habitat. Guys, we are talking about a creature that grows up to 43 feet long. That is the size of an entire shipping container, just swimming miles beneath our feet.
But the ocean always has a deeper, darker secret. On one hand, sure, we have the 43-foot giant squid, but drop down even further, an astonishing 19,000 feet into the abyss, and you encounter the big fin squid. This creature looks like an absolute alien. It's so mysterious that scientists don't even fully understand what it eats or how it survives. It really makes you wonder how many other giant, bizarre species are just hiding out in these completely undiscovered depths.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next big question. If the deep ocean is filled with 43-foot, shipping container-sized squids, what kind of monster could possibly be big enough and brave enough to actually hunt them? Well, meet the sperm whale, the modern leviathan. This is one of the deep sea's absolute largest and most powerful apex predators. It grows to the size of 3 mini trucks combined. Descended from prehistoric mega whales that used to battle the megalodon, today's sperm whales literally dive into the pitch-black depths just to hunt giant squids. They are fiercely powerful. I mean, history even records an astonishing event back in 1820 where a massive sperm whale intentionally attacked and completely sank a ship called the Essex. Let's transition over to Section 2, Prehistoric Living Fossils, Survivors of the Ancient World. Tracing the lineage of these deep-sea survivors back through deep time is honestly staggering. We start over 300 million years ago in the Carboniferous period, then move to 150 million years ago with the goblin shark, and then 80 million years ago with the frilled shark. When we call these animals monsters, we mean that literally. These are ancient beasts that time entirely forgot, perfectly preserved by the dark isolation of the deep sea. To understand how they survive, we have to look at a crazy phenomenon called deep-sea gigantism. Take the giant isopod, for example. It looks exactly like a pill bug, but down in the depths, these arthropods grow 50 times larger and up to 400 times heavier than their relatives on land. Picture a giant, cockroach-like creature the size of a large rabbit. So where did this gigantism even come from? Well, these giant isopods originated hundreds of millions of years ago during the Carboniferous period. Back then, Earth had massively higher oxygen levels, meaning the surface world was literally crawling with car-sized millipedes, giant dragonflies, and man-sized scorpions. Climate change eventually wiped out those giants on the surface, but in the deep sea, the giant isopods survived. It's a living legacy of an ancient giant world. Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds into our final category. Terrifying deep-sea predators, the apex hunters. 300. That is the number of backward-facing, razor-sharp teeth inside the mouth of the frilled shark. This creature is a living fossil from 80 million years ago. It's got this long, 6 to 7 foot snake-like body, and it looks like a sea monster straight out of a horror movie. And because those 300 teeth point backward, once it catches its prey in that terrifying trap, escape is literally impossible. It strikes just like a snake, lunging forward to swallow squids and fish completely whole in the utter darkness.
Next up is the goblin shark. Now, over 300 million years ago, there were sharks with incredibly bizarre jaws that looked like saws or scissors. You'd think those prehistoric nightmare shapes were gone forever, right? Actually, wrong. The deep sea hides the goblin shark, an ancient survivor that has been swimming around for 150 million years. It's widely considered the weirdest and most terrifying-looking creature in the ocean today. 0.03 seconds. That is the tiny fraction of a second it takes for the goblin shark to strike. Its entire jaw completely detaches and shoots out of its face in 0.03 seconds. Prey has absolutely zero time to react. It is hands down one of the fastest, most lethal, and visually horrifying jaw mechanics in the entire animal kingdom.
And if we're talking about terrifying ambush predators, well, the bobbit worm's hunting strategy is completely unmatched. This worm can grow to the size of a mini car, but you'd never know it because step 1, it conceals 90% of its massive body underground in the sand. Step 2, it just waits patiently. And step 3, the exact moment prey swims close, it strikes with lightning speed, clamping down and dragging the victim straight down beneath the sand. Once it pulls you under, your chances of escape are basically zero. As if a mini car-sized ambush worm wasn't scary enough, check out its most shocking ability. It has literal superhero regeneration. If another deep-sea creature somehow manages to attack the bobbit worm or tear off a chunk of its body, the worm doesn't just die. No, it completely rebuilds and regenerates the missing parts of its body exactly like a superhero in the movies healing from a fatal wound. It's insane. So what does this all mean? What should you take away from all of this? Well, the deep ocean isn't just a body of water. It's practically a completely alien planet right here on Earth. From the 43-foot kraken to sharks with 300 backward teeth and giant bugs from the time before the dinosaurs, these real-life monsters absolutely prove that reality down there is far wilder than fiction. We have barely scratched the surface of exploring the deep sea, which leaves us with one final deeply unsettling question to think about. If all these terrifying creatures are already known to us, what else is hiding right now in the deepest, completely undiscovered parts of our oceans? Keep learning, stay curious, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.